Hello, hello. We are live on March 1st, 2023 for the daily transmission. You are here with Mama Capricorn. Say hello when you arrive, whether you're here live or whether you're catching the replay. I have a feeling Instagram is going to be just fine today because I updated my app. So fun story. But I have been looking forward to March for I don't even know, for so long now. I feel like I'm tingling with the anticipation, which is so funny because good morning. I wanted, I was gonna touch on something and then I was like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't, but now I'm already talking about it. So I'll get into this in just a second, but I feel very compelled to share just my own, this is not oh, this is the right way to do something. And then nothing that I use, that I come for you with ever is. It's always take what you want, leave the rest. Please, follow your own, inner guidance, your own intuition. That's my whole motivation for you here, is to live your life through self-motivation. But, especially when I me looking at astrology and me looking at that, I can get really into rabbit holes where I get anxious. And it's not just astrology, this is everything. I have a history of dealing with anxiety. Please note the way that I describe this, right? It's not I am or I have, nope. I'm a human being and I struggle with anxiety just like anybody else. And, in fact, I was voted most stressed out in 8th grade, and, it is what it is. I have, when you grow up in fight or flight, when you grow up in a state of survival, cortisol is natural to your body chemistry. And then when you're trying to get out of a state of stress, when you're in comfortability, that's not normal. And so maybe I'm talking about the moon is definitely conjunct my Chiron today. My Chiron is in Cancer in the 2nd house. For those of you who are that's too much astro talk for me. Chiron is your wounded healer. This being in the sign of Cancer for me, it's essentially mommy issues, right? Just I was not nurtured or cared for growing up. And then in the 2nd house is very much about the material world, about money, about finances. And my daughter, it's, not funny, but she might hear little anecdotes or little, I might just share a real thing that happened, when I was growing up. And she just can't even wrap her head around the concept of no, there was no food. And she'd be like, okay, but how did you eat? And I'd be like, right. Not that it's funny or anything, but it's she just cannot even comprehend. And so for a very long time, it was hard to get out of that space for me. Because it just wasn't, that's where I was comfortable. I was comfortable being there. And so when I, would start to try to, normalize being comfortable, especially materially comfortable, I would just completely self-sabotage, or I would do all kinds of stuff because my body was no, you need to be in stress. Stress is your natural operating state. And so something that I taught myself a few years ago, and it was the beginning of me being able not to live in that energy anymore, or need that energy for me to take action, because it's almost I didn't, unless I was stressed, I didn't feel like it was necessary to take action. And so this was one of the first perception shifts, one of the first mindset shifts. Hey, good morning. And so I thought I would share this with you. And I have a really good post about this on Facebook somewhere back in the past, right? Somewhere in 2017, 2018, probably. But it's talking about shifting your perception around anxiety, around being anxious, right? In an anxious moment. And so obviously we have coping mechanisms and deep breathing exercises. And ideally you're doing things to reduce your cortisol, working out or going to sweat. That's a big part of the reason that I go to yoga. And that I choose like hot yogas because I can get a lot of that stress hormone out of my body. But something that I thought was very interesting is that the chemical structure for anxiety, like the chemical that's actually like happening in your brain, is almost identical to the same one that is going off when you are in anticipation. So like when you are in a space of like, I'm about to get on a roller coaster, right? When you're on a space of like, I'm about to do something so fucking cool. I'm about to get on a plane. I'm about to be in March 2023. Okay. Part of you wants to be in a state of anxiety. Part of you wants to be in a state of let's fucking boogie, right? And so that is where, it's not, this is a very basic, like entry level, this is not like a solution to anything. It's simply an invitation to shift perception. And that's literally it, that it's not, right? This is not a fix. This is not like, here, cure your anxiety. In no way, shape, or form is that what I'm saying. I want to be clear. It's just literally an invitation for you to take a step back when you notice yourself, when you have self-awareness of being in an anxious moment, right? When your body chemistry is like reacting and you feel your heart racing or whatever, happens to you. I was talking to one of my clients yesterday, and for her, and we see this in her gene keys, for her, she'll start shallow breathing. And that's, so she obviously needs to, that's one of her cues to like, okay, get back into the deep breathing and start to reduce the cortisol that's going in her body. But it's also just an invitation to ask herself, like, am I anxious, or can I be like, can I choose to know that I'm safe and that whatever is for me is for me? And so like, I don't need to be in anxiousness. I don't need to be in stress. Like I can be excited. I'm about to buckle up and get on a roller coaster. Because like, that's how I feel about March. That's how I've been feeling about March. And like, transparently, this is how I feel about like the next 3 months, which is a big reason that I decided to open an incubator program during this time frame, because I don't want to have my attention everywhere. I don't want to have, I don't know. I feel very strongly like I'm going to need to be able to call back my energy and not have to be making commitments to a lot of people. And I also want to be there to support an aligned group of people through this like tunnel. Okay. So let's talk about the astrology of the moment. And then I think I'm going to share with you like a super brief March preview, because y'all, March is bananas and I could take it day by day, but I feel like I want to, it's like, you want to look at the roller coaster before you get on it, before you even think about getting on it, and it's like, okay, so you're already in line and there's like no getting off of this one, but maybe you can like prepare yourself a little bit better for it, right? So today we have the sun activating gene 37. This is the last day of 37. So we're at 37.6. So we are in like full teacher mode now, right? This is like the last thing before we move into our next gene, which will be tomorrow, and we begin to explore 63. I won't go into all of that, but over the last week, right, it's about 6 days that the sun will be activating any given gene. And so when we talk about 37, it's all about recognizing your unique gifts, right? It's all about recognizing that you have just as much space, that you have just as much of a right to be here, that you have just as big of a purpose as anyone else. And everyone else has just as much of a right to be here and just as much of a purpose as you do as well. And so it's about helping you to honor what it is that you're here to do so that you can find your soul family, right? It's all about family alchemy and being able to, and this has so been a theme for a lot of my clients, that they are like really coming into the thing that they are here for, and not just like the skill or the particular like role that they play, but also like the bigger mission that they're very much grounded in, right? And so it's about having those two things, and then knowing, okay, well, what other like characteristics, qualities, skill sets, like what do we need, right? What do I need to attract to myself? And being able to notice it when it's there and call it in. And so we've got, like I said, the sun right there at the end of 37. So hopefully you have been really feeling into yourself and allowing yourself to come to terms or to even just acknowledge where your self-doubt still is. And ooh, we're getting a little preview of 63, aren't we? Right, where any sense of not enoughness still exists in you, because those are lies, my friend, straight up lies. Okay. And I love that we have the moon in Cancer to finish off this particular gate, because it's a gentle quality, it's a nurturing quality, and that's how we should be treating ourselves today, with gentleness and nurturing and loving care. We are beginning a 3-day transit that is fully direct tomorrow, but we have 2 in particular that are just like so exciting. I have been, talking about them for a little bit now. I'm going to go ahead and share my, nope, I'm not going to share my screen just yet, because I've got Twitch in the background, and it'll be that like weird, like zoom, zoom, zoom moment of like being a mirror. That's what I wanted. Pull up Astro. There we go. Okay, friends. Day of Mercury, let me give you some info. So we've got Venus conjunct Jupiter and Mercury conjunct Saturn. Now, Venus conjunct Jupiter is happening in Aries. Instagram has gone off the rails. So Venus conjunct Jupiter is happening in Aries, and then Mercury conjunct Saturn is happening right there at the end of Aquarius, because we have Mercury moving into Pisces like later this week, maybe over the weekend. And then Saturn enters Pisces. Okay. Yeah, we're fully like leaving Instagram now. And Saturn enters Pisces like next week as well, which I'll go over in just a moment. Spoiler alert. But Venus conjunct Jupiter in Aries is very much an energy of like, I'm fun, I can hang, like, let's go to the next party, let's do the next thing. It's also very much an energy of like sharing what's on your heart, and being like crazy idealistic, right? Just letting yourself want what you want tenfold. Today would be a really good day for like manifesting or whatever, right? Whatever manifestation practices you have, whatever rituals it is that you find to be like helpful or impactful for you, today would definitely be a good day for that. And well, today, tomorrow, Friday, and it's direct tomorrow. Then we have Mercury conjunct Saturn. Again, this one is also direct tomorrow, but because of the way that these transits work, and the like speed that these planets move at, they're like roughly 3-day transits. So Mercury conjunct Saturn, this is happening at the very end of Aquarius. Again, we get that message of like being idealistic, being innovative, being future oriented, and making a commitment. There's definitely something here about like contracts, agreements, because Mercury, of course, being like the communicator and being data driven and being about interpersonal communications, because Mercury, we've got the 2 sides of it, being in Gemini and being in Virgo, right? So it's the talking, like communicating side of Mercury, and then also the like organizational and like routines oriented side of Mercury. So we've got that happening, right? Conjunct Saturn, which of course, Big Daddy Saturn is all about building a foundation, or like making a commitment, especially one that is a long-term one, because that is like Saturn's whole deal, right? Now, with this happening at the end of Aquarius, this is something communicative, but I definitely feel that it's something that's like long-term oriented. And I know I just said that with Saturn, but the thing about Aquarius is that so often people consider Aquarians to be like head in the clouds, like not like they're flaky or something. And it's not that they're flaky, it's just that they are like so like, they're in the future. Like Aquarius is thinking 20 years ahead. It's thinking about how to make things better. And so that's definitely like the agreement energy that I see here. Not that I'm here to be like, hey, everything's about joining my program right now, but if you're considering joining a even if it's not mine, right? If you are thinking about taking on, so Jupiter, right? Venus conjunct Jupiter, and even the Saturn bit, like I would encourage you to look and see like where in your chart these are, right? Where Aries is in your chart. Aries for me is the 11th house. And then Aquarius for me is the 9th house. And so both of these are like screaming, like making a commitment to like a higher learning, like acquiring a mentor, but especially something that's going to bring along like community and belonging and social groups. And am I starting my yoga teacher training this fucking weekend, y'all? Like, I can't. And I know for a fact that my yoga teacher does not, necessarily follow astrology that hard. Like she doesn't know her placements off the top of her head. So I know that she's not like like planning her programs in accordance with that. But this is just too real, right? And of course, right, because that's even my like, oh yeah, she's just planning it for me. No, this is just how things are. Okay, so this might be a good time for you to be looking for partnerships, mentors, collaborators, people that make you feel like you're on the same team, like you're really excited about something, like you share the same core values, the same ideals, and you want to create the same future together. What a lovely time. Okay, so now like I just have to because March is crazy. So this is how I go about writing my horoscopes, by the way, is I just like very quickly jot it down, and then I'll show you because I've only done Capricorn rising so far. I jot it down and then I like interpret it through which house they're going to be in, right? So it's not a mystery. I will tell you exactly how I do this, because it's not the information or even like how I do it that is the most impactful thing. It's my interpretation. It's my perception of the information that's here. That is the most valuable thing. So I called this week a return to love. I just feel like this is a moment where we're definitely like reaffirming ourselves to what it is that we want, because Aries is inherently, we don't need to call it selfish, but it is like almost in a childlike, innocent sort of way, like self-motivated, which is good. Like you need to be self-motivated if you want to achieve your goal. If you want to actually realize the thing that you say you want, there needs to be a level of self-motivation there. Now, yeah, there's also like wanting there to be an impact on the community and for others to get something out of this as well. And that I think is where the Mercury conjunct Saturn of it all comes into play. Because again, Aquarius is never just about themselves. Like it's about the individual, like being at their best for the sake of the well-being of the whole. So next week, I called this deeper healing because we have 3 things that are all going on all at once. We've got, and literally all at once on Tuesday, because we've got the Virgo full moon, and then we have Saturn entering Pisces. There's no way that I'm going to be able to fully talk about March. I'm just recognizing this now. Unless we're going to be here for an hour, but maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll see how it goes. So Virgo full moon on the same day that Saturn enters Pisces. Now, first of all, I just want to point out that those are in opposition. Those are opposing signs. Okay. So Virgo full moons are a time of releasing, reflecting, allowing ourselves to like turn on the lights and notice like where we are, where we need to clean things up, or where we're giving ourselves to things that are not like serving. And so when we look at Virgo, the Virgo full moon, you want to look back at what seeds you may have been planting, especially around the Virgo new moon, which would have been in September, right? And so think back to September, which funny enough, like I went to ARC in September, and it was about then I had already been very like committed to my yoga practice at that time. But after I came back from ARC, it was like a whole new thing for me. I was there every single day. I've been there every single day, unless I'm out of town or unless unless the yoga studio is literally closed. I go every single day, and it has just made me a better person in every way. And I've got this new like community of people who are awesome, and it's just like just growing. And so when it comes to things that I need to be releasing at that time, right? I need to be looking, or at this time, right, on Tuesday, I need to be looking back at that time and asking myself, okay, when I was making commitments to my routines, to my wellness, to my, you know, what are things that are working? What are things that are not working? And, you know, you can look at this even more specifically by checking out like which house this is in for you, which if you are in my monthly membership, I'm a little bit behind on the horoscopes, but I will have it out to you by the end of the week. I mean, probably by tomorrow. So for me, Virgo rules my fourth house. Yes. I'm like, where am I? My fourth house. And so, right. Oh my God. I'm like tripping right now. Yes. I know what my chart looks like. So Virgo being in my fourth house, this is going to be all about like work-life balance, a lot of this, right? Because that also means that the sun is in Pisces when the moon is in Virgo, right? Or when the full moon is in Virgo, excuse me. And so we've got Saturn entering Pisces at the same time. Saturn has, right? I call him Big Daddy Saturn. Me and Saturn, we're BFFs. Okay. You should try to be friends with Saturn. Okay. Because there's no like avoiding it. There's no like running from it. Like you're going to have to work on this area of your life at some point. And, you know, okay, we have Saturn returns, and that's like the big one. But anytime that Saturn enters a new sign, we as a society are going to be working on something. And then you will want to look at like what house this is in for you to see what area of your own life you're kind of, I wrote this in my Capricorn rising horoscope yesterday, that it's like you're breaking down the broken foundation that was there, clearing it away, and then pouring a new solid, thick foundation. Okay, because you can't build something strong up from there unless the foundation is solid. That's what Saturn's here for. Okay, it's about patience, it's about commitment, okay, and about the long play, right? The success in the long term. And so Saturn leaving Aquarius, again, I just mentioned this has been from March 2020. In fact, the week of lockdown, Saturn entered Aquarius. Okay. So what I said at that time is we were about to see a radical shakeup in the world, that the healthcare would be a major topic of conversation, that the health and the well-being of the individual for the sake of the collective would be at the forefront, and that we would also get a surge in work at home opportunities. Y'all, okay, so Saturn entering Pisces, I said this a couple of years ago, you're going to see a huge surge in psychedelics, in mental health being a topic of conversation, in spirituality being a topic of conversation. Artists and creators are going to have their moment, okay? And I'm already like, y'all, I'm not even telling you about Pluto yet. We're going to do this like halvesies. We're going to do, week 1 and 2 today. We will go over week 3 through 5 tomorrow. That's what's going to happen. Okay. because there's just too much, y'all. There's just too much. So when you look at Saturn entering Pisces, as a collective, we're working on mental health. As a collective, we're working on the unconscious mind. We're working on our connection to spirituality, to God, to source, okay? At an individual level, you should be looking at what house this rules for you. So if you were with me in 2020, you know that I started teaching a program that was wildly successful. Literally, I made over $300,000 from it in less than a year. It just like blew up immediately. And it was about human design. And again, I'm not here to tell you what is or isn't correct for you. Just when I found out certain things about human design from individuals, very, very, couldn't be closer to the source than if I dug up the fucking dude himself. I felt it was no longer in integrity for that to be tied to me. But I did not respond well at all. Or I don't know. Let me not judge myself. I responded to the best of my ability in that moment. And I learned a lot. But that was obviously, that was huge. Big changes, right? But with Saturn at that time transiting my 9th house, okay, the 9th house is the house of higher thinking, of philosophy, of schools of thought, of world travel, okay? And because I was broadcasting my message at a very high level at that time, I mean, I had students all over the world. I had students in Singapore, in India, in Japan. I had students in Australia. I had students that would, and we taught this program live. So they would stay up, and they would call it the midnight coven, and they would stay up until the middle of the night and be up like that for 2 weeks, because it was a 2-week program, Monday through Friday. And it was awesome to get to do that. But at that moment, I realized I didn't want it to be for that. And so I had to let it go. And that was so hard. But now it's like, oh, of course I had to do that. Because if I had kept going with that, if I had gone any further up that mountain, I don't know if I would have been able to get down safely. And I'm now entering a space where Saturn entering Pisces is going to be in my 10th house. The 10th house is the house of career and reputation. And so, y'all, I fully expect to have like my book republished within the next 3 years. I fully expect to be surpassing the level that I was then. Not, and it doesn't necessarily mean in any like, I mean, the material sense would be fine, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. It means like in impact and in prosperity. Because a lot of the way that I had done that, a lot of the way that I had built it was not based on anything that I wanted to do. And when we get into my gene keys, my pearl, right? The pearl is the center of your prosperity sequence, right? When we talk about the prosperity sequence, this is the 3rd one. If you want to join my incubator, this will be the 3rd month of our focus. The pearl is where we talk about like, yeah, it's when you, right? I mean, think about what a pearl is. It's like you open the shell, right? And then there it is. It's like this beautiful surprise, and it's so valuable. At the center of your prosperity sequence is your pearl. So my pearl, the gift, it's the way of style, right? And it's the shadow is in mediocrity, and how, oh God, that word, I feel so called out. And when I, like my dilemma, right, which is basically like how you, like your awareness, like how you know when you're like seriously in your shadow, is imitation. Ooh, fuck, right in my gut. Because at that time, I was listening to all different kinds of people, like different marketers. I mean, very successful marketers. They didn't know anything that I didn't know. And all of their guidance, like no shade to them, like I'm sure their guidance works either for them, for other people, for people who just aren't me and aren't what I want to do. it's like their one objective was just to make money. And that's great. Money is awesome, but like money is ubiquitous and I can make it in lots of different ways. And I shouldn't have to be unhappy or dissatisfied or frustrated more than I'm happy with what I'm doing. And the more that I release what it needs to look like, or being professional, or being, right, being known for, right, something, or like being, you know, whatever, having any image of what I think should or shouldn't be, the better and better it gets. Just everything gets better, everything gets more fulfilling, everything gets, I mean, the responses I get from people and the depth of the responses that I get from people, right? Because it's not just that we're treating things at the surface level, we're going cellular, you know, like so deep. I couldn't enter this phase with Saturn and Pisces going through my 10th house if I hadn't fully embraced Saturn taking a pickaxe to the foundation of my 9th house and then pouring a new solid foundation in there as well. So whether your Saturn is in Pisces and you're about to hit your Saturn return, welcome to adulthood, friends. You're not an adult until you're post Saturn return. Just Mama Capricorn's opinion, okay? But regardless of whether this is your Saturn return or not, this is Saturn moving signs is a huge moment for society in general. At the end of next week, we've got Jupiter coming into conjunction with Chiron in Aries, which I've also been talking about. Now, Venus will still be like right over there. So, and these are happening like within the span of, 2 weeks. So what I want you to hear is that Venus conjunct Chiron. I mean, Chiron is a bitch, right? Chiron certainly can be. I think, and maybe, Saturn used to be called Cronus. So, Chiron, Cronus. Chiron deals with I talked about Chiron at the beginning of the session, your wounded healer, right? The inner part of you that has a pattern, a cycle, a pain. And you know what it is. I don't even need to tell you, you know what it is. But if you look at the sign that it's in, you're going to be like, ouch, called out. Thank you. No, right? Okay, fine. So with Jupiter being conjunct Chiron, this is a great opportunity. And with Venus being there as well. Okay. And Saturn's entered Pisces. Y'all, there's so much softness here. There's so much opportunity for vulnerability and for like healing your inner child. I really hope that you take this opportunity to like be vulnerable with yourself and vulnerable with other people, to have empathy, to have compassion. Again, having empathy and compassion doesn't mean that you have to reduce your boundaries or lower your standards. It just means loving people where they are, even if that means that you have to keep them at a distance, right? Like you can love people. Like I love some pretty fucking despicable people, y'all. And, it's not about trying to make it right, justify it or make it right, or right. You don't have to figure out why they're like that. Just, we can just have love for them as people. It's really hard for me to do that when I think about like my exercises in doing that are like, what's that fucking dude's name? Pete Buttigieg. Y'all, he is testing my spiritual strength. He is testing my spiritual strength every time I hear his name, every time I see his fucking face right now. I can't even say, right? I have like such disdain. I'm trying so hard. I'm not perfect. We try. Because until we can get there, like we can't do, whatever. I'm getting very esoteric on you now, but I think that this is where I'll end for today. Because again, March is so fucking full, y'all. I've been just like, my energy is like through the roof. I'm like tingling and there's a little bit of anxiousness, but I'm choosing to shift that anxiousness into anticipation. Anticipation is a much healthier feeling. It's a much more positive feeling. It's a much more ready feeling. Right? Anxiousness is like, I'm trying to I'm like white knuckling and I'm trying to control the future or fix the past or something. And anticipation is kind of like surrender, right? It's surrendering to the moment and just like, okay, here we go. And so it's like the opposite of white knuckling, right? You're like releasing grip and going like this. Yeah, so I hope that, on this last day of the sun activating the 37th gene, that you are being tender to yourself, that any of those negative feelings that rise up, any of those negative thoughts, any of that negative self-talk that tells you that you're not enough, that you're not special, who are you to do that? I'm a divine creation is what I am. I have just as much of a right to be here is what I have, right? There's no if they can, why not you? There's no reason. Okay. I love you so much. If you want to hear more about my incubator program, if you want to check it out, or if you wanted to check out my membership that will be getting the horoscope late this week, you can do that here, right? I've got it for $11 a month, or a discounted rate if you want to hop in at the annual. In addition to the monthly horoscope by rising sign, you also get the daily astro journal, which have I showed it to you before? I'm sure I have. It's fine. I don't need to do that right now. We'll do that tomorrow. And a new astro lesson every month. This month, I think we're going to, or not, I think we're talking about big cardinal energy as we enter into Aries season. Big cardinal energy. This is a good way for you to, or this is my strategy anyway, for planning, right? So instead of doing like Q1, Q2, Q3, based on like the calendar, I do it based on the astrological wheel. And so Q1 is technically about to start, right? March 20th, March 21st, when the sun enters Aries. And so big cardinal energy will essentially be teaching on that. So that's included every month. And then if you wanted to go into my incubator program, right? This is 8 people only. I have 5 spots left. Audacity to Ascend. We are going deep into the gene keys. So we've got 3 private sessions, 6 group sessions, right? Details, but this is where, I've been talking about my pearl today, that's one in a sequence. And that's one sequence in a sequence of 3. So there's so much to unpack here, and this will impact every area of your life. Like if you want to do a deep transformative experience in a quick span of time, 3 months, it's a 3-month commitment, we are going to do that. So would love to see you in there. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. It's info@mamacapricorn.com, or you can find me on Instagram and send me a DM. It's Mama Capricorn. I'll be back tomorrow for the daily transmission. I don't know if we're going to get to do this on Instagram anymore. I just don't know what the deal is with Instagram right now. But we've got Twitch, we've got YouTube, we've got the podcast. The content is here, fam. So I will see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. for another round of the daily transmission. Bye, friends.